Chase Ross, and I use he, him. I identify as a trans man. A trans squiggly man. Not quite there, but kind of there, you know? I identify as queer in all parts of my life, in like my sexuality and my gender identity. However, that's confusing for some people sometimes. So I tend to just say I'm trans or a trans man. I don't totally identify with the word trans man. I feel way more in touch with just the word trans. To me, that just encompasses everything, and it can confuse people, but I don't really care. But I tend to just like to use the word queer because for me, that just means not different, but like my own different. I don't know how else to explain it, but I really honestly love the word squiggle. Like I literally have a squiggle tattoo on my ankle because I've just said I identify as a squiggle like my whole life. Even like before I started to transition, I was like, I'm a squiggle. I'm not a boy. I'm not a girl. I'm a squiggle. I'm in the middle of the middle, you know, things like that. So I feel that when I talk about my identity and how I identify and perceive myself, many people would categorize that as non-binary. And I have no problem with that. However, I personally don't identify with the term and the identity non-binary. I like not binary. Yeah. So back in 2006, I found some YouTube videos of a trans person, and I was very confused. I did not understand what I was looking at. And after watching a couple of videos, things kind of started to click for me. And that was very scary. But I felt like there were no videos about people who felt confused and did not understand their identity or how they felt. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to start making videos as like a diary for me. Like at that point, I don't know if you could even post private videos. I think they were all just like public. So I was like, I'll just post them and I won't tell anybody about them. And I just wanted to like talk about how I felt and how scared I was. And honestly, those videos are like so raw and so real. And unfortunately, they're all gone. I deleted them all when I was going through like, I'm not trans, it's disgusting, I don't want to be trans. So I deleted everything, threw everything out. And then obviously everything came back because I'm trans, I can't just hide it. So yeah, those videos are all gone, but I decided to make videos and continue on that journey because I wanted to tell my story. And just like I didn't have access to therapy, you know, like I needed to talk, so the camera was there. So that would have been 2006. I was 15. I feel deeply connected to my shit trans guy say video. I made that video in 2012 when like the shit girls say and all of that, like all the little spin-offs happened, and I decided to do a shit trans guy say, and that video for me at that time blew up, and I'll never forget that moment. I mean, that was 10 years ago, and that's still one of my favorite videos. I also am a really big fan of my Trans 101 series. In 2017, I made a video every day of August with a new Trans 101 topic. I actually started like getting the ideas and developing the ideas in February of that year. Like it was months, like 6 months of filming, editing, preparation, researching. That was so much work and it was so worth it. I'm so proud of my Trans 101s and that it's still relevant today, even like after 5 years. That's the whole point, right? It's for people who aren't trans or people who are just questioning or just realizing that they're trans. So it's very basic, but information I absolutely wish I had when I was a confused 15-year-old. Oh my God, that would have helped me so much. I wanted to help people because I realized how easy it was to make this, even if you don't know how to sew, because I don't know how to sew, barely. I don't even know if I did it right. You know, like there's cords and like string everywhere. And I'm just like, hopefully it doesn't tear apart. But it was just kind of to show people, like, even if you have no money, because, you know, at that time I was super young. I was like, I don't know, like 20 or 21 when I made that video. I didn't have a lot of money. I was in school. I had student loans. I barely could, like, I lived with my dad. Like, I couldn't pay rent, you know, like I could barely buy my food. So showing that you can make a harness that can actually support your packer and you can still feel affirmed in your identity was super important to me. So that's why I wanted to make it and why I wanted to tell people about it. I've had so many different like projects here and there over the years, and I feel like that's really brought the community together. Years ago, I did a trans enough project where people would send in little clips of themselves saying just very quickly, like, why do you feel like you're not trans enough? What has somebody told you that made you feel not trans enough? And putting all of those clips together in a video was so powerful because so many people had similar experiences, and it helped I feel like the people who were in it and people watching, it helped them grow and understand, like, oh, we are trans enough. This is just what people say. Like, it doesn't matter what they say, it matters who I am and what I think. So I definitely feel like that brought the community together. And I feel like a lot of my other videos, especially the reviews, help people in the community kind of figure things out, in terms of what they want and what they don't want. And through making all of my YouTube videos, I've been able to have like meetups, which is really awesome to like meet people who watch me. Like, they know everything about my life. I know nothing about you. I'm used to it now, but in the beginning that was freaky. But but I really enjoy kind of bringing people together. And in that regard, like, people become friends from being at these meetups that they wouldn't have been friends before. I also feel like my videos extend outside of YouTube. I do presentations at conferences. More recently, I do the Philly Trans Wellness Conference, where I do a show and tell of all the prosthetics and the packing underwear that I have, all the top ones, because I have way too many. I can't do them all. But it's 3 parts. Like, it's 3 hours nonstop of me talking about prosthetics. And so many people come to these presentations, whether it's virtual because of COVID or actually in person. It's so rewarding to see everybody in front of me, and like, I'm making people laugh, you know, throwing wieners all over the place. And I feel like it just makes everybody feel way more comfortable about this topic that sometimes might feel like not super comfortable. I think, honestly, regarding the trans community, I get to help people, and it's fantastic. And there's nothing more that I want in this world is to be able to help trans people. So that's the number one thing. The other thing that I'm really, really into with my DIY video is that there's a lot of people, again, who ended up on that video who shouldn't have ended up on that video, because the harness is called DIY harness. That's the video. That's the name. It doesn't say for what, so you don't know. I've had people, I was looking for a harness for my bird, and then he pulled out a wiener. I was so confused. Or I was watching this with my mom, and I can't tell you how uncomfortable it was after a minute watching this. So I know that it's like, it's funny. It just brings me so much joy that other people are finding these videos and they're questioning it now. They're like, why do people need that? And I feel like it opens the door to like questioning, and like, now you know a trans person. Now you'll always be like, I was looking for a video for a harness for my parakeet, and this popped up. The timeline of when I transitioned is super important in my story of why I made this. And there was nothing. There were barely any underwear that were sold out there that had any type of packing pouch or O-ring or anything. So really having to think outside the box. And you know, I'm sure that I as we're talking, I kind of realized where I had seen this. I had a friend who was on Tumblr who had mentioned that, and he had transitioned years and years and years ago, like when he was young, and his parents had made him a harness that was similar to like just an elastic with an O-ring. And him talking about that, I was like, can I make a video about this? So that's where the original idea came from this one Tumblr like user. And I feel like because we were in that like time that there were many things that were accessible to us, it was more important than it would be important today. It's important today, absolutely. I would love to remake this video and explain it again. And I absolutely think it could help a lot of people. However, the video being made 10 years ago, I feel like helped way more people than it would today, because things are way more easy to access online now than they were back then.
My name is Clayton J Reeves. My pronouns are he, him, his. I wanted somewhere I could have all my transition stuff. So at first it wasn't for anyone else except for me. It was just to see my own transition. And yeah. I started out making just transgender videos about my identity and everything about me. And now I just make all types of different kind of videos. Yeah, like I have a girlfriend, so I make some couple videos. I got my 2 dogs that I like to take videos of. I am really good at cooking, so I make a lot of cooking videos and just pranks and stuff like that. So there was this one that was like I was very proud about. It was like 500,000. It was a prosthetic video that I made. It's not on there anymore because it got so many views that all the comments, there was a lot of negative comments. So actually, like, it happened like 6 months ago. I deleted pretty much all my trans content doing with Packers and stuff like that because I got a lot of hate. Yeah. And recently, you know, I'm now motivated again. I realize I'm gonna get hate, so I'm going to post it. So I recently just started posting my transgender content again. So my favorite video would probably be my testosterone updates, because I love to look at how I look pre-T to now. Back in the day when I was pre-T, I would hate to look at like pictures of me assigned female at birth. Like it just kind of cringed me out and everything. But now, being almost 3 years or so on testosterone, I love looking back. It's actually kind of fun. I got some underwear. So this, I couldn't find the one that I exactly made. I don't We're in the middle of moving, so everything's kind of everywhere. So I want to first show you, this is actually one I bought from FTM Essential. It's a trans website. This is it, and what they're made to. This is actually STP underwear or packing, so it's stand to pee devices and packer devices. And what it is, there's a pouch in for your packer, and if it's an STP, this pouch goes out, and then you can just go right through it, which is really cool. I like these. These are expensive though. Just for like one, it's like $20 when you could go to the store and buy underwear like $20 for like 5 or 6 of them, you know. Right. This is just some Hanes underwear that I did buy from Walmart. Nothing new to them. They're just the way they are. But what I would do, so there's like, you know, the slip in right here. On one end, I would just sew this one end and just have one end open and maybe close it a bit, or like, if I'm not like the best at sewing or anything, but you could add like a zipper on it too, so like your packer wouldn't fall out or something like that. And then that's where you just put your packer. And I like to make my own more because like this, like, it's a brand everyone knows, you know, like some people would know what kind of like trans brands they are, you know, they kind of make it like a trans name-ish, you know. So if you don't want that to be seen, like Hanes, everyone has. That's why I like using stuff like this, you know. And also, here's just another thing. This actually my buddy made. His name's Max. He made this. He's also trans. He has his own website and stuff on Instagram. And he makes something like this, which is a harness. And so if you don't want to ruin your underwear that you just bought, you know, brand new underwear that you want to wear, you would put your packer inside this. And it has a hole right here for your packer. And then you just tie it like a belt around you. And then you just put your underwear on top of it, which is a really cool device. So you can make it, you know, you can make it look more realistic or less realistic, you know, more products, less product. This obviously isn't like the best, but you know, I made it, took like less than 30 minutes, probably even less than that. Just something easy. I did cut it. You don't have to cut your sock. See, like there's just the rest of it. If you don't want to, you know, and like it's a sock you actually like, but you want a packer, you could keep it, just fold it over and use it, or you can cut it to the size you like. This is around the size I would like. And just a clip, any kind of clip. And one thing cool about like a clip is you could actually clip it to your boxers, and then you don't have to ruin anything, and it could hide there. Or if you do have some packing underwear like I do, you can put it inside that little packing pouch and it works perfectly. And how I made it, it's just some kind of fluffy cotton. And I actually just got it when Christmas was clearance, and it was just 10 cents for the cotton. So it's really cheap. Yeah, I like to make these kind of stuff. So I usually look in the comments below too of things that people like, if they like harnesses and they want to see me make a DIY. Like I showed you, my buddy Max has some, but I could make my own for a YouTube video if that's what people want to see. It's kind of up to my audience and see what they're more dysphoric about and what I could help them kind of alleviate the dysphoria. Now, it's awesome seeing everyone. So like I would get DMs all the time from people ages anything like 10 all the way up to like 30, 40, 50, you know, it's any kind of ages saying, you helped me come out, you've helped me like make DIYs and everything, and I'm just helping them in their life, which is like weird. I never thought I would help other people, and it kind of just make it brightened my day. And my best friend Max, he's also trans. He's from California, so we met from YouTube, which is amazing. I made a lot of new YouTuber friends, and just trans people that aren't YouTubers in general. I've had no people that I knew that are part of the LGBT community, not a lot, living here in small town Iowa. But after making these YouTube videos, I've learned, heard, and like became friends with a lot more trans people, and it helps me out too, because just having another trans person in my life does help out. Yeah, like I said, just knowing that I'm helping others with just things that like I wish I could have had like a YouTuber like me back in the day, helping out, telling me how to come out to my family, telling me that I have support if my family don't support me, and knowing like I didn't know anything about Packers or any kind of FTM prosthetics when I was a kid. So like if I had someone like me when I was a kid, that would be awesome.
My name is Delilah Lily Gardner, and my pronouns are she, her. Female. I started transitioning medically about 2 years ago, but I mean, I've always been trans. I've said multiple times in my life that hormones definitely like saved my life. It's a situation where for me, I didn't even really realize I was trans, or more accept that I was trans, until my 30s, even though there was signs all along. Like it was basically when I was 30 years old that I kind of realized and put words to it. And hormones have been an amazing part of my life, and they're not for everyone, obviously, but they definitely saved me and changed my life in more ways than I can even really imagine that they would have. If I sit down somewhere, I like to cross my legs. It's just something I like to do, and it's something that is, or at least can be, very uncomfortable when tucked. So it's just something I avoid generally. Some dresses or skirts, but I avoid it. Not often, maybe a couple times a year at this point. So I made all sorts of different videos, like makeup videos. The gaff video was actually a request that someone was like, hey, do you know how to make a gaff? Will you make a video doing so? So I did. That was the whole reason I did it. I also did videos more on my own personal journey, how hormones were affecting me, what surgeries I wanted, things like that. And then I also did more politically minded videos talking about the trans erasure that was taking place during the last administration, including setting out like a 3-point program to explain how what was happening was trans erasure. I love that the gaff video caught some traction, and it seems like, at least I hope, that it's helping people. So I think that would be my favorite for that reason, is simply that it exists, more people have seen it, and hopefully it's helped people. That's really what it is, because I hadn't seen one made the way I made it, where it was flatter. So that's kind of why I did it. And I do want to get back into doing more YouTube videos, because it's something that makes me feel good, something I enjoy doing. And since realizing how a video can like do well, I was like, all right, well, maybe I'd like to get back into that. I'm actually planning to do a video on gender euphoria, since my first real video was on gender dysphoria. And I've really come to the point of realizing that it's the feeling good that encourages people to transition, and it's the feeling good that makes being trans valid, more so than the feeling bad about things. So that's what I kind of want to really touch on, because my old videos weren't very positive in that regard, in my opinion. I feel like they were very down on myself, down about being dysphoric, down on, being trans, even, maybe, is how I see them when I watch them now. And I just have such a more positive outlook on being trans, and I would want to put that out in the world now, because now I love being trans, and I love how good I feel doing the things that make me feel good. Nope. Only thing I think I've ever made DIY garment was that gaff, yeah, or like gaffs in general. Yeah. I think it's the only thing I ever felt like I needed. Most of my wardrobe came from like thrift shopping. I watched multiple videos online and a few like picture tutorials. And then after using the kind with like the tube sock, which is a very popular, it's super common like version of it, which I'm going to send one of those too. It's just like, it's the most common one that I think people use because it's sturdy and easier to use and is not at all complicated. However, I found that by using just a pantyhose, it's a bit more economical just because it literally is just, I don't need a sock now. It's all right there in one piece. And it also is a lot flatter, even though, as I tried to point out, it has its flaws. So it's, you know, it's harder to use. It can roll up and things like that. But because of it creating like a T-back shape, because of the material being stretchier, it just, I found, created a much flatter, like smoother front without any like bulge of padding. So that one, I just kind of made it up. No one told me how to do that one. Oh, no, I mean, it's one of those things that it's easier to replace sometimes because it's so cheap. It's something that literally anyone can make. So, and out of differing materials, as long as it makes sense, you need a waistband and a piece of fabric in the middle that can pull tight. It's super simple. I don't know. There's a lot of different ways you can make it. Some people on my channel had talked about doing it like floral patterns and stuff. And I'm like, absolutely. If you can find floral patterned like pantyhose, but you could probably use tights. Again, it could start to get more bulgy again because the waistband would be a lot thicker at that point. I'm always helpful. People get something out of it. So, and especially, yeah, some of them are directly talking about trans discrimination. So in those, it was meant to be activist. It was meant to point out something that to me seemed obvious, but that it seemed like no one was talking about. At least maybe no one was connecting the dots for me in that video or in that sense. And I think maybe that's what frustrated me but it's my own fault if I didn't connect the dots well enough for everyone else after that point. But that I was able to use that argument in person, which is why I decided to make the videos in the first place, is because I'd already been able to lay out 3 very related, very sequential things that could erase a person. So yeah, it was those were definitely direct activism, and at least I hoped at the time. And I don't know if I changed anybody's mind through YouTube, but I know that I at least made a couple people in person aware of it. And one of them even like voted for the first time in their life for that reason. So like making the argument alone was enough. So the 3 I talked about, and I laid them out in the 3 videos, were housing, employment, and healthcare. And the main reasons I break it down that way is because employment first is going to be like a key thing, although I did include it in the middle of the video for some reason. I don't know why I ever did that. But the employment, if you don't protect someone's employment and it's a group that is often discriminated against, then obviously they're less likely to be employed, which can be statistically shown. Someone who's less likely to be employed loses 2 things. Number 1, they lose healthcare. And then on top of that, they lose the ability to pay for stable housing. So now if you've taken away someone's job and you've taken away their house and you've put them in a position where now they have to ask for help and government assistance from somewhere. But with housing, the big problem was at the time, and it's still like not good, is that battered women's shelters, homeless shelters could deny trans women based on their gender. and it would force them onto the street. Now you've got someone without a job, who's houseless, unable to gain support from any kind of like government assistance or housing, and has no health care, on the street because they're denied health care based on LGBTQ status, which was a rule change that occurred at the time, like by the Trump administration, so that doctors and I think it was and insurance companies, but I would want to fact check myself on that. It's been a minute. Could deny people based on that for religious reasons. So since they could deny them, it gave the ability. I'm not saying it was forcing everyone down that path, but it definitely encouraged for that to happen, because once somebody, I mean, okay, they're living on the street, they can't get a job, they can't get housed, and they have no health care, they're just more likely to die. And you can see that, like, especially with trans people of color being hit the hardest, because those communities specifically are already underrepresented, underprivileged, underfunded, and it's going to hurt them the worst. Like, the Equality Act is like the most important thing right now, and there's like nothing being done about that. So that's where the bigger issue is at this point. Now that we've reversed the literal erasure, is just to ensure that what rights we've started to establish are at least solidified. I'd say the biggest reason that I wanted to make that specific video was just to show that you don't have to have money, because gaffes, especially when you're on social media, are advertised pretty consistently. Algorithms, they find us and they're like, oh, you've been looking up tucking, here's a $40 gaff for you. But you can, like I said, if you go online, you can make it for $3, and if you go to a store, you could probably make it for $5. Everyone can make it, and everyone can normally get to a point of affording it. I mean, I know sometimes $5 is $5, that's food, so it's not a top priority, but it's cheaper than most makeup and still affirming. It's cheaper than a lot of things that trans women need, and it's still just as affirming as a lot of them.